Hey guys, I am at the baseball field again. I told you guys a couple weeks ago I'd be at the baseball field a lot. Some of you have already been on 2 calls with me already today on my webinar and my group coaching. I gotta keep my hand up here because the sun is right in my face, and I'm in my car. My son's practicing, and hey Kitty. I have an interesting analogy, Kitty. I think you are in the UK. Are you in the UK? I think you'll find this interesting. Anyway, it's hot, you guys. It's like, what time is it? I don't know what time it is. Almost 7 o'clock, and it's almost 90 degrees here. Anyway, my mind is always on you guys. I'm always thinking about you guys. And I was thinking about this analogy about these different languages that we speak. And I wanted to tell you about it because I think this might be a really cool framework for all of you, whether you're neurotypical or you're autistic. So I have these really great friends. Ellen, you're in, is it Ellen? Yeah, Ellen, you're in the UK. Okay, you guys who are in the UK are going to find this kind of funny. But the first story I'm going to tell is about my friends who are this couple that are some really good friends of mine. And she is from Japan and he's from Germany. And she doesn't speak German and he doesn't speak Japanese, but they both speak English. And so this is the common language that they have to speak to each other. And so a lot can be lost in translation in their relationship because it's neither of their native language that they're speaking to each other. And in so many ways, this is very similar to what your relationship is like in a neurodiverse relationship. And I'm assuming you actually both speak the same language, English, or whatever the language is where you are. If you speak different native languages, then you've got an extra layer of difficulty there. What my friends have a beautiful relationship though, because they have had to learn to really pay attention to the fact that they're going to use that language differently, and that they have to be curious. They have to be curious and investigate. Because if you've ever learned a foreign language, and Ellen, there's even a funnier part here about you in the UK. Just wait for it. If you've ever learned a foreign language, you know that sometimes you use words and expressions not quite right. If you've ever known someone who speaks, I'm a native English speaker. And so when someone who's from another country that has a different native language, they might use an expression or a phrase that translates literally correctly, but it's not quite how we use it here in the English, in American English. And so it's kind of like, no, didn't quite get that right. And so in a lot of ways, that can be similar to how folks on the spectrum use English in a very literal way. And they don't understand the subtle nuances and the cliches and the figurative language. It's a lot of the folks on the spectrum that I've worked with have told me it's like English, their native language. They've even said speaking human is like a second language to them. So my analogy that those of you in the UK are going to find funny, even those of us who speak the same native language, sometimes there can be differences if we're from different parts of the world. So I lived in Ireland for a while. So the English there is similar to the English in the UK in terms of phrases and expressions and terminology. And we made, who's my ex-husband now, we made quite a few blunders when we lived there. Hi, Amanda. How are you today? So I'm going to tell you guys a couple of the blunders we made. And those in the UK, you're going to laugh. And the ones here, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. But there were a couple of times where I made reference to whatever the pants were that I was wearing that day, or the color of my pants. Well, turns out that pants in the UK and Ireland means your underwear. And so I got some really strange looks when I started talking about my pants, because everybody else thought I was talking about my underwear. I can also remember, Kitty, you're there too. Okay, yeah, you guys talk to each other. I can remember when we first moved there, I was in a place kind of like a sub sandwich shop, and I think it was like a deli. And the guy behind the counter kept asking me, he said, "Are you okay there?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then he said, "Are you okay there?" I was like, "Yep, I'm good." And he finally looked at me again and he said, "Are you ready to order?" I don't even remember what he said, but I realized when "Are you okay there?" was a colloquialism for "Can I take your order?" And I didn't understand that that's what he meant. And so again, I was being very literal with what he was saying to me, just like an Aspie would with the literal language. I didn't understand the cliche, the colloquialism. So I wanted to use this analogy with you guys because this is very much what it's like for those on the spectrum. And when you're not aware of it, this is part of what results in those conversations that you guys have when you're just like, you're talking and then you're just like, what? And I know I've said that before. You're just like, what? You're not understanding him or her and your autistic partner, and your autistic partner's like, I don't know. So keep this in mind. This is why it's so important to be curious and inquisitive. Just like my friends from Germany and Japan, they already know that their common language is going to be different, and that they're going to miss some things in translation. So they're curious. They have to inquire, and they have to clarify. So when you're talking to your partner, remember that you don't use language the same. And neurotypical folks, you speak a language of emotions. Autistic folks don't speak that language. It's not a language that they speak and understand. I was on with a client earlier today who's autistic guy, and I was explaining to him how neurotypicals, we have a literal spoken language, but there's always a meta language, which is like the secondary language in everything we say and do. There's an addition, there's a meaning, there's a meta language. It's the implied, there's an innuendo, there's the extra meaning that's there, and we get that meaning from body language cues and context, and that's why we're looking for the hidden meaning sometimes in what our autistic partners say, because that's what we're used to as neurotypicals. And when they say things that are kind of blunt and abrasive sometimes, we're looking for that. What did he mean by that? And our autistic partners are like, well, I meant exactly what I said. And sometimes I advise you guys to get clarity and ask for clarification. And you've given me feedback that your autistic partners are like, I meant what I said. When we're wanting to clarify, what did you mean by that? So sometimes you might want to just take him for what he said, take it for what it's worth, and recognize that you're looking for that meaning because you're neurotypical. But sometimes you might want to just stop and think about what he said, the literal meaning of what he said, and take it for what it's worth. And know that there's not a hidden agenda, there's not a meaning there. What do you guys think about what I'm saying? Oh, I think the sun went behind the cloud. Oh, it's so hot here, you guys. I'm dying. Any thoughts? Did you UK people laugh at my pants analogy? It was funny. It was embarrassing, actually. It was really embarrassing. What do you guys think? Does this make sense? Is this resonating with you? Hi, Rachel. Yeah, it makes sense, Kitty. Good. These things pop in my head sometimes, and sometimes it's the middle of the day and I can't jump on here, but I knew you would like that. I stepped into so many blunders when I lived in Ireland. I had to learn the hard way. And that's how it feels. I can relate a little bit to what it's like to have Asperger's. Just a little. It's a small piece of what it must be like from when I lived there. And I stepped into so many blunders. I could tell you another one, but it's not appropriate, so I can't tell you here. But I stepped into so many blunders and realized I was using English in a more literal way. If you guys can think of any, share them here. Or you can just tell me how you're doing. I'm not doing Ask Me Anything Friday tomorrow, just so you know. I'm exhausted from my week of webinars and coaching. So if you have anything you want to shoot at me right now while I'm here, ask me anything. Or just tell me how you guys are doing. I like to hear from my folks. I like that you and Ellen are talking, Kitty. That's cool. Let me scroll back and see who else is here. Hi, Carmelita. Nice to see you. Oh, you missed the pants analogy. Well, okay, I'll tell you. I was talking about when I lived in the UK, or I lived in Ireland. Sorry. I lived in Ireland for a while, where they speak English, but the English is different. And in the United States, pants means trousers, like the what you wear on your lower half. And in the UK, it actually means, in the UK and Ireland, it means underwear. And so I was talking to various people about, you don't talk about your trousers or your pants that much, but I don't remember the context. But I made comments about my pants are wet. It's like me saying my underwear is wet, you guys. Very embarrassing. That's what it can be like for someone with autism, to make a blunder like that and not realize what they've done. Yes, Rachel, the webinars this week. I will be uploading all of them to the Straight Talk library. I was going to get it all done tomorrow, but I've ended up with a couple of coaching calls tomorrow that are sort of crisis calls. I have a client who had a trauma, pretty serious acute trauma this week with a friend who had a motorcycle accident. So I'm actually trauma certified to do some trauma work. So I'm going to be doing that tomorrow, part of the day. And so it may be Monday before I get those uploaded. So you guys bear with me. But I will announce it in the group when I've got them in there. And I'm going to extend. I was giving you guys a free week in there. I want to do you know what? I need to do a live on that Straight Talk library, because I want you guys to see this thing. I want you to, I'm offering it to you for $5 a week. It's like over 40 videos and modules, and some of them I have like write-ups, and it's like little lessons, and it's a good resource for you guys, and you can cancel anytime. So I'm going to give you a free week so you can get into those webinars and watch them all. And then if you decide to stay in there for a while, you can stay in there as long as you want to have those resources, and then cancel anytime you want to. Oh, Carmelita, okay. You're from England, so you get the pants analogy. It was horrible when I told people my pants were wet. It's horrible. So embarrassing. Okay, Ellen, hey, sorry for catching your video late, but my partner has Asperger's. How do I go about knowing what he wants without face-to-face meetings? So are you saying that you don't see him face-to-face? Is that what you mean? That you guys are virtual? You have a virtual relationship? You're welcome, Rachel. But for any relationship, whether it's virtual or not, ask. Clarify. Ask him. I'm all about being a detective. Curiosity. It killed the cat, but it's important in relationships. Oh, here comes the sun again. I got a block. Whew. Sorry, you guys. Hi, Ruth. How you doing? You said it was... Look at me, guys. I'm sweating. It's so hot here. It's awful. Those of you who are just joining, I'm at the baseball field waiting on my son's baseball practice. So I'm sitting in the car and I'm dying. It's better than sitting in the sun, though. So I might as well talk to you guys. Ruth, you have to scroll back and watch the replay and my analogy about the pants. You'll think it's hilarious. I've already said it twice, or I'd say it again. On the phone, so when you are, so Ellen, you're talking about when you talk to your partner on the phone, how do you go about knowing what he wants? I still say ask. When you say, I'm assuming that you're neurotypical, and so when you say, how do I know what he wants? I'm assuming that you get a lot of cues from the face-to-face, that you're used to getting information from that face-to-face contact. And if that's the case, you're not going to have that obviously on the phone, so you have to ask clarifying questions. You have to try to find a language, kind of like my friends, the one from Germany and the one from Japan. You have to figure out how to use a language that you both speak. And he's not going to speak emotions. So, as you know, okay, yeah, I was going to say this earlier. I know emotions, the language of emotions are very important to those of us who are neurotypical. But it's not a language that autistic folks speak. And it varies. Women on the spectrum speak it more than men. Men on the spectrum speak it in a range. They have a range of speaking emotions. But women in general, even neurotypical women, speak emotions more than neurotypical men. So this is, hey Elizabeth, Liz, it's weird calling you Elizabeth. This is a language that our guys just don't speak. And so it's like my friends from Germany and Japan that I was talking about before, they have learned some about each other's native language, but once we're adults, we don't really, that window for learning language kind of closes. So we don't have that capacity to learn another language. And it's the same with autistic folks. They don't have the capacity. They only have what they have to learn to speak emotions. And so you, as a neurotypical partner, and guys, those of you who are men and women, those of you who are on the spectrum, your partner speaks emotions, and your partner's going to speak emotions, whether you want them to or not. We have to decide at some point whether we're going to accept this or not. Well, that's our boundaries. That goes back to the boundaries webinar. We can't change our people. We can't change our partners. They are who they are. And if they don't speak emotions, they don't speak emotions. So we have to learn to speak a common language that we both speak. And if that's not good enough for us, like my friend, they learn to speak English to each other. They could, neither one of them said, okay, my German friend didn't tell her, you have to speak German. This is the language we're going to speak. She didn't say, you have to speak Japanese. This is the language we're going to speak. They both said, okay, we're going to speak English to each other. It's our common language. That's what we're going to do. We're both going to butcher it sometimes, but this is what we're going to do. And you guys have to learn how to speak in a way that, in a language that you both speak. And you're late in the game. A lot of you are late in the game figuring out that your partner's on the spectrum. So you've got all this history of pain and hurt and resentment because you didn't know about autism. And I was just telling a client this week, this is a total reset now. This is a reboot, a reset of, this is new normal. That's a word that's all over as a household term now. Your relationship's going to have a new normal. It's going to be a new normal, a reset, a reboot. But the new normal can be amazing and wonderful. But you really have to decide what what's the bottom line for you. Kitty, you said, after 10 years with my husband, phone conversations are still hard work. He has no idea when it's his turn to speak. Yeah, that's difficult sometimes for folks on the spectrum. That dance, that social back and forth. That's the case for a lot of folks on the spectrum. It's true. And so just knowing this and just prompting is something what you have to do sometimes. Rachel, how do you speak without emotions? Can you give an example? Yeah, you don't necessarily have to speak without emotions, but you have to realize that, well, okay, yes, you can. Well, your partner probably does this all the time, so you could take lessons from your partner. You keep it to the okay, it's how you would speak at work. This is probably a good example. Think about work. You keep, if you work, or if you've ever worked, or if you've ever been in a situation, even if it's not a paying job, a situation where you keep things professional. You don't have to keep it sterile, because you can have high quality interactions with the people you work with. But it's the interactions with your partner are going to be more successful if you talk to them more like that, if that makes any sense. Was that helpful? Liz, you just state what needs to be said, sort of the way you communicate. Yeah, you beat me to it. Sort of the way you communicate at work. It took me a long time to, let me open, I have to click see more. It won't let me see more. It took me a long time to learn how to do. Maybe that was the last of what you said, because it won't let me open that up. Carmen Lydia from London. You guys are talking. Thank you, Liz. So Rachel, I hope that example was helpful. Thank you, Liz. All right, you guys, I'm going to go. I got to drink some of my tea here. I'm about to die. And those of you in the UK, tea is served on ice here in southern Georgia. I do drink my hot tea in the mornings. Actually, here comes my kiddo now. So that's good timing. All right. You guys have a great evening, or whatever time it is, a great rest of your whatever. So I will talk to you guys later. Bye.